Uh-oh. Just trying to open something else. Checking, checking. Yo, yo, what is poppin'? Hello? I am very quiet. Let's also try moving the microphone closer. How do I sound now? Still a little bit quiet. Let's try... I'll just arrange it so that it's as loud as possible. And then I may be messing with more stuff later if this is blocking the shot. I'm also gonna... How does this sound? I think we're okay. Let me add the game audio now. How do I sound? How is this? Yeah, I'll go with this. And also... Sorry about that. Let me get all of my docs in here. Switching to a new computer has made things slightly irritating. Come on. Let me make Twitch, or not Twitch, OBS bigger. Maybe that'll help. And now let me make the chat bigger so I can see it. Now we got something. Hello. Hello. You're the camera now. I'm gonna have to get used to this. Pointing it down kind of looks weird, but I'll keep it anyway for now. And I'll just have to remember to look up. Or actually, sorry, I'm gonna make you motion sick for a second here. I'm gonna try moving the camera from... Ooh, I don't like that you can see all of my trash back there. Let's try that. Okay, that's a little bit better. I think I like this as the angle I'm working with. I have a new computer and a new camera. And now you can see my glorious unfinished room behind me. You would think I would get to that at some point, being here long enough, and you would be wrong. I will get to it at some point. But you can actually see parts of my desk now. You can see me from a different angle. No more of that angle where you're kind of looking up at me just a tiny bit and it's a little bit weird. Maybe I just spent a whole lot of money on this and some unexpected car trouble, so I'm good on spending money for a while. But maybe one thing I'll try to get is like a tripod for this camera, so that I can actually, what's the word? Yeah, we'll start playing from here. Okay, so we had not talked to this guy about anything. Yeah, this camera's also 60 FPS, which my old one was probably not. So this is very fluid motion, at least to my eyes. I hope you like it. The investigation. So how is the investigation going, Inspector? Nothing to it, really. Very simple case, this. There's some very definitive evidence, I'm sure. We're just about to charge that diver we arrested last night, in fact. Gina? You're gonna charge her? That's right. Should be able to bring her before the judge at the Bailey tomorrow. It would appear my camera is blocking the view. So let's try something slightly different. So yeah, I'm just gonna delete this sub-goal thingy for now. Let's try. Now we will be up here, and it's like we're talking to him. Hey, buddy. Wait. Hey, buddy, how are you? How's the wife? Do you have a wife? Do we know that? That's right, should be able to bring her before the judge at the Bailey tomorrow. Definitive evidence, you say? What is it? Come on, show me. Your ladyship, as much as I wish I could oblige you, I'm afraid. Ah, I see. You've already captured the pair of thugs who broke in here last night, have you? What the... And you're going to put them on the stand as witnesses, are you? How? How could you? How? How could you possibly know that? I had a feeling, that's all. Remind me never to keep a secret from Iris. So you've arrested those two men who shot Mr. Sholmes. I bumped my controller on the keyboard thingy there, sorry about that. You've arrested the two men who shot Mr. Sholmes, have you? Well, yes, they were rounded up pretty quick by the lads on the beat. And Miss Lestrade is being held at the prison. She should be. That's assuming she hasn't lifted the key from the jailer, of course. Can you tell us anything about Mr. Sholmes? What's his condition? Sorry, I'm not at liberty to divulge that information. Scotland Yard matters are strictly confidential. Well, I know he's being operated on at St. Sinner's. Why can't I see him? I'm family, you know. I'm terribly sorry, your ladyship. It's the hospital's policy. No visiting at all. Oh? The bullet must have hit an artery in his midriff. He's lost a fair bit of blood. Oh no. He didn't seem too bad in the first hour or so. But a hemorrhage like that is enough to make even the one and only Sholmes pipe down. Mr. Sholmes is a human like the rest of us, you know? Well, anyway, he's having emergency surgery right now. They gotta stop that bleeding. But he will be alright, won't he? We'll be able to make him better. Of course, your ladyship. He'll be right as rain before you know it. Really? How do you know? How do I know? Well, because, of course. Yes, because Mr. Sholmes is such a great detective, that's why. We better pray the doctors have a better grasp of what's needed to make someone well again. Oh dear, please don't die, Hurley. I'll report to your ladyship the moment I hear he's out of the operating theater. Her ladyship. I couldn't help noticing, Inspector. What? Out with it, sunshine? Well, there seems to be a marked difference between the way you talk to me and Iris. Watch the sauce, Sonny. I'm a copper, and we don't go in for favoritism. But he's right, you do treat us differently. Because of those Adventures of Herlock Sholmes stories, that's why. Oh. I crop up in them, don't I? Inspector Tobias Gregson? Oh, well, yes, because you're an acquaintance of Hurley's. What did you write about the inspector, Iris? I don't remember, really. It was one of Sholmes's lines. Gregson is the smartest of the Scotland Yarders, is how he put it. Oh, did I write that? And you know what that one line did for me, eh? The very next month my pay doubled. Doubled, I tell you. Oh, that's amazing. All because everyone at the Yard reads them. They read all the Herlock Sholmes stories. You even set up a fan club for me. Of course, that explains everything. It was around that time that you became such a toady to me. Can you blame me? All it would take is one bad word from you and Sholmes could change his tune about me. Gregson? No, the great detective will say. He's getting quite overrated these days. Think what would happen to my salary if that came out in print, eh? The whole thing gives me the willies. Can't tell you how many nights of sleep I've lost to worrying about it. But that would never happen, Gregsy. Every month when the new Ransk magazine comes out, my hands are trembling as I turn the pages. Oh, how awful for you. Here, have some of my tea to settle your nerves. Glug, 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 glug. Ah, lovely. Ta very much. That really hit the spot, your ladyship. Teetotal. Oh yeah, there's something I was supposed to talk to you about, Mr. Actually, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, what is it? I've got an important message for you. I clean forgot about it until now. Important message? I wonder what it could be. It's that important message you're talking about. Are you going to tell me what this important message is then, Inspector? Yeah, it's about that young lady who's normally by your side, your assistant. Dear Susie, is she alright? She's at the station, isn't she? Being questioned, I believe. Nope, not anymore. She had to head off. Head off? Where? To Lord Strongheart's office, of course. He summoned her. Ah, yes, of course. I'd forgotten about that. One of the whipstocks took her there in a Yard carriage after we'd finished questioning her. She asked us to tell you she didn't have the fare for the return journey and to go and meet her there. She's got a nerve using Scotland Yard as a bloomin' messaging service. See, well, thank you for passing that on, Inspector. Why did Susie have to go see the Lord Chief Justice? She didn't tell me. I'd better head over to the Lord Chief Justice's office to fetch her straight away. So we're probably not going to get too much crime scene investigating done. Alright then, let's see what we can uncover. Boy, what you think you're doing, Sunshine? You can't touch anything in here. Oh, but we were hoping to investigate. This is a crime scene, for Pete's sake. No touching. What's the problem, Gregsy? Runo's a lawyer, you know that. Oh, I'm ever so sorry, your ladyship. Ever so sorry. The rules and regulations are a thorn in my side. Of course, Mr. Naruhodo... If Mr. Naruhodo was to have been properly appointed by the accused, that'd be another matter. The accused? If you show me some representation papers, I'd be only too happy to let you nose around. Did you hear that, Runo? You need Ginny to sign some representation papers. Looks like presenting the detective here with the correct paperwork is the only way. So we're gonna have to get some paperwork to do anything here. Which I think is just telling me that we should go to the Lord Chief Justice's office. Yes. No matter how many times I come here, I always get the same sense of oppressiveness somehow. Do you think the place is oppressive? I think it's normal. How so? I mean, look at that suit of armor over there. You can't take that seriously, can you? Maybe it thinks the same about you. Everything is clear with regard to tomorrow's arrangements, I trust? Yes, thank you very much. Here they are, Susato-san and Lord Strongheart. I wonder what they're talking about. They both look very serious. Very good, there's nothing further to discuss. You may return to your lodgings. And that you have much to do in preparation for your return to your homeland. Wait, what did he just say? Return to your homeland? Susato-san! Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. What was all that about? Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, thank you for coming to collect your colleague. What's this all about? Why were you talking about Miss Susato's return to her homeland? Hello, Fridays! How are you doing? And tomorrow? It did! My new computer came! And because it's a big fancy desktop, I needed to get an actual webcam, so I couldn't use my crappy laptop cam anymore. So I have an actual camera. So now it's like HD, and you can see behind me more. You can see my posters that I haven't put up yet, and my mini fridge with stuff piled on top of it because I had to clear everything off the desk to make room for my monitors and stuff. Maybe now that people can actually see what's going on behind me, I'll put some actual effort into getting everything organized and put up. Tomorrow? What about Ginny's trial? You mean she's been formally charged now? Oh dear. Returning to our homeland? Miss Susato, what's all this about? Oh, please don't concern yourself, Mr. Naruhodo. It's only me going back to Japan. Your life here can continue just as it has. And that's not what I asked. What happened? Why are you leaving? It's my father. He's fallen ill. Oh no. Professor Mikotoba? If I may. Yeah, sorry. You must be the defendant, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, I believe. Yes, that's right. My name is Yujin Mikitoba. I'm a professor of forensic medicine at Yume University. We received an international telegram from the Empire of Japan informing us of the news. 10 days ago, Father collapsed with fever. The cause is apparently unknown. It seems he grows weaker day by day. I don't believe it. As you are aware, the voyage from here to your country's capital, Tokyo, takes some 50 days. But it would be prudent to hasten Miss Susato's departure as much as possible. Yes, absolutely. I will leave London first thing tomorrow morning. Can't believe this is happening. Soul Hackers 2 has been in development since 2018. I could believe that. Because I feel like most games take several years to develop at a time. You know, with handfuls of exceptions. Like Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed, I think those do usually, what's the word? Those tend to come out every year. And Assassin's Creed might take multiple years to develop, they just kind of stagger it. That actually probably is what they do with both of them, because I know Call of Duty, at least for the period of time where I was actively following the Call of Duty games as they came out, they would like switch off which studio released what year, so they were actually taking 2 years. So I could see how like a big JRPG like Soul Hackers would take, let's see, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, 5 years. That sounds about right. Especially because presumably they've probably been working on it since 2018. I don't know the full details. I haven't read anything about it really. But, what's the word? My guess would be, at least for parts of that, they were also still working on SMT5 or, you know, something for Royal. Yeah, it's interesting. Atlas kind of tends to put, like, just the occasional one-off thing on Xbox, but they don't, even though they've started doing cross-platform, they really haven't, excuse me, they really haven't done much for Xbox. That's probably because Xbox is just not very popular in Japan, but still. Gina has been charged. She'll have to appear in court. Yes, she was formally charged a few hours ago, and the date of the trial has already been set for tomorrow. No, not even 24 hours later. Gina? Ah, the Lestrade girl in the murder of the Baker Street pawnbroker, yes. An all too transpicious case. Pickpocket was clearly disturbed mid-robbery and shot the man in a panic. No, the yard is overstretched as it is without wasting time on these open and shut cases. It's not wasting time. Ginny would never do something like that. Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes, Lord Strongheart? In deference of your fine services to date, I shall overlook this young girl's insolence. I have no recollection of admitting a child into my office. Leave now. Of course, Lord Strongheart. Criminals will tell the most palpable lies in order to evade justice. The police can ill afford the time it takes to unravel all their untruths, meanwhile more crimes are perpetrated. You have far more serious matters with which to contend. Serious matters? Didn't Gregson mention something like that yesterday? Yes, Inspector Gregson made a similar remark yesterday. It's no concern of yours, though I'm sure I need not remind you of that. "3 minutes precisely until my next meeting. You must excuse me." There's just one more thing, Lord Strongheart. Which is... it's Miss Lestrade's trial. I wonder if you might permit me to defend her. A timely suggestion. Sorry? The girl currently has no representation. But that's not fair. Yes, she may be a pickpocket, but she still deserves a fair trial. Do not misunderstand me, young lady. The government provides for those too poor to afford representation with a public defender. The accused need only sign the relevant paperwork, and the defense barrister will be assigned to the case. However, the young girl in question has refused that right. Why would she do that? A question you would do well to direct at Miss Lestrade. You'll find her at the local prison. Yes, thank you. Now then, it's time I was leaving. Good day to you. What a day. Gina charged with murder, Susato-san about to leave? It's almost like this is the final case and things have to be tense. Come, Mr. Naruhodo, Iris, we must make haste. But Susie, you're leaving for Japan tomorrow morning, aren't you? Don't you have packing and things to do? As Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, my personal circumstances are of no consequence. My sole purpose remains to help you in whatever way I can. Thank you, Miss Susato. It's a very pensive look. I think we ought to visit Gina first. In any case, I should like to wish her well before I leave. Yes, that sounds like a good idea. Let's go. If I'm honest, this has completely thrown me off. I just have to do what I can as a lawyer. Let's see, does this... what was on this again? Stolen Bank appears to have used the back of this photograph to write out a redemption ticket. He's written it very neatly, but still, perhaps he ran out of paper, so he had to use anything he had to hand. Hard to know what's the front and what's the reverse side now. Okay. So let's go to the prison. Ah! Hello again, Gina. What are you lot here for now? We have the muzzle of that grenade launcher shoved in our faces yet again, obviously. I think I need to improve the way you load ammunition into that thing, don't I? Look! You can come as many times as you like, but I ain't got nothing more to say to you. Gina, I wonder if you might hear me out. There's something I'd like to say. What? I'm sorry to say that I must reluctantly bid you farewell. Farewell? Tomorrow I must begin my journey back home to Japan. I fear we may never meet again. Oh, right. I've had the pleasure of meeting so many lovely people here in London. I have so many wonderful memories. And yet, as things stand now, it will be a glum parting indeed. Poor Iris is so miserable. It's easy. Well, well, that ain't my business. Both Iris and Mr. Naruhodo believe you to be innocent, Gina. They've put their faith in you. But somehow, you can't find it in your heart to put your faith in them. Yeah, that's right, I can't. What of it? It grieves me greatly to have to say goodbye to my friends when they are so clearly unhappy. Because of you. What? It's my fault? Yes, so I have one final request, Gina, before our paths never cross again. Right here and now, I want you to show both of them that you don't deserve the faith they've invested in you. Eh? Only by doing that will you truly be as alone as you claim to be. What are you talking about? What do you expect me to do, eh? You told us that everyone lies. So prove it by admitting one of your own untruths. What about what you said before, Ginny? You said something about unforgivable lies. You must tell Mr. Naruhodo and Iris the truth now. That is my last request before I leave. My last request as a judicial assistant. No, I can't. Ooh, excuse me. Whatever these lies are, they're obviously weighing very heavily on Gina's mind. Gina, I could be wrong, but... Is it something to do with what happened 2 months ago? Something about that trial? The one in which Magnus McGilded was acquitted? Ah. A case of that mysterious murder that took place inside the omnibus. You were called as a witness by the prosecution. Is that what this is about? Yeah, you're right. Because in that trial, I lied. I lied like you wouldn't believe. Will you tell us about it now? Trial 2 months ago. Ooh. I don't know why. I like sit down to stream full of energy and then I just like start yawning. I'm not even that sleepy is the thing. Like you said, it all happened 2 months ago. The coppers got hold of me and shoved me in the witness stand. And based on your testimony, Mr. McGilded was declared innocent. Yeah, well, the thing is, I lied about a whole bunch of stuff. I knew it. What sort of thing did you lie about? I was hiding under the seat that night, that was the truth. It was pitch black in that little cubbyhole, I couldn't see a thing, and then... I heard that loud thud like someone falling on the floor. And that's when Mr. McGilded discovered you? Yeah. Pulled me out from under the seat and sat me next to the dead man. There weren't much light to see by, but when I looked at me hands, I had the cub's blood all over them. I was so scared I couldn't even speak. You had his blood on your hands? In other words, it was Gina that the witnesses on the roof deck saw through the skylight. Then Mr. McGilded started asking you questions, I suppose? Who you were and why you were hiding under the seat? Yeah, he did, only that's not all. What do you mean? I mean, he threatened me. Threatened you how? He made me swear about what I'd seen and what I'd heard. And about what he was going to do after the cove was found dead. He made me swear I wouldn't tell no one about any of it. If I did that, you said he'd let me scarper before the coppers showed up. Gina, you must tell me what he swore you to secrecy about. What you saw, what you heard, everything. What you saw. He said McGill would make you swear not to tell anybody what you saw. You were in the pitch-black compartment under the seat the whole time, weren't you? Yes, well, Mr. McGilded's sitting above your head, if I remember correctly. Excuse me. Yeah, that's true, but it was when I heard the thud of the cove hitting it in the floor that I let out a little scream. See, couldn't help it. McGilded heard that and dragged me out by my arm, and that's when I saw it. It was on the floor next to the old geezer what had been stabbed. A disc all bright and shiny. A disc? Do you mean... Yeah, that's it. The one what the D took off me at Windibanks. So the music box disc was there on the floor of the omnibus. Not for long. McGilded spotted it straight away. He picked it up, smartish, and stuffed it inside his pocket. So that disc was in the omnibus 2 months ago at the scene of Mr. Mason's murder. And the bog trotter told me I weren't to mutter a word of it to no one. And what you heard. It was so dark under the seat in the cab, I was straining my ears the whole time. After a while, I heard the door and footsteps inside the cabin. Presumably that was McGilded getting on board. Nah, not only him. Oh? Because I could definitely make out the footsteps of 2 people. In that case, it would seem likely that it was Mr. McGilded and the victim. Mr. Thrice-Fired Mason. In his testimony during the trial, Mr. McGilded claimed he slept during the carriage ride. But whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness and I always succumb to it. And your own testimony, Gina, supported his. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring. Yeah, that weren't exactly true. Neither of them was asleep. I could hear him talking the whole time in low voices. What? What were they talking about? Sorry, I don't know. The sound of the horses and the wheels was too loud. But that still tells us something. Mr. McGilded and the victim knew each other. Which we already knew, but... I think the more significant thing is that they were aware that each other was on the cab ride that day. So McGilded was lying as I suspected. After the event. I knew it weren't going to take long before someone raised the alarm that the bloke had been killed. Yes, you were quite right. The other passengers on the roof deck noticed very quickly. So when the cab came to a stop, McGilded told me to hide back under the seat again. Climbed in and waited. The 2 coves from up top ran off to get the coppers. So Mr. Fairplay and Mr. First. Right, and after they'd gone, McGilded asked the driver to do him a favor. A favor? Now then, fella, what I need you to do is take this coat of mine and deposit it with a nearby pawnbroker. And for your troubles, let's see now. I'll give you 10 guineas. A nearby pawnbroker? You mean on Baker Street? Yep, you got it. It was Windibanks. The coachee snapped up the money and ran off to pop this coat as fast as he could. So when there was no one left in the carriage, McGilded opened the box under the seat and let me get out of there, but not without conditions. Let's see. McGilded's conditions. What were McGilded's conditions, then? For letting you go free, I mean. Not telling a soul, not for anything, about what I saw and what I heard. And there was something else as well. There's more. Yeah, this is the most important thing, he said. I'm after sending the coachman on an errand for me with some small change in his hand. Now then, did you hear what I asked of him? Did you see anything at all? At all? You asked him to go pop your weasel, right? Aye. The fiend's taken me overcoat to deposit with a pawnbroker hereabouts. And I want you, lass, to take the redemption ticket for it. Do you understand? What, you want me to have the ticket? That's right. I'll come fetch it from you later. Sometime within the next 2 months. You're to hang on to it until then. Is that clear? And whatever you do, don't lose it. Alright then. And in case I might happen to be delayed at all, you're to go to the pawn shop, Windibank so it is, and you're to extend the loan afore the 2 months is up. If you forget, the article will be forfeited and any old fiend could come along and buy it. Yeah, but I ain't got that kind of brass. Here's £5, that should be enough. Do we understand each other, lass? Don't try anything funny now. You go against me. Yeah, I get it. Good, and one more thing. A few days from now, you'll be visited by the police, I have no doubt. The coppers. Aye, they'll come asking ye to take the stand in court, to testify as a witness. Let's just have a wee chat about that, shall we? What it is that you might say, and what it is that ye won't. Yeah, have a good evening, Fridays. After he'd gone over it all, I piked it as far away from there as I could. He hid the pawnbroker's ticket in some bushes near the scene. I went to fetch it the next day once it got dark. So McGill had planned it and coerced Gina into giving false testimony. Interesting. I bet you're ready to string me up, eh? I lied in that big old courtroom. I told some corkers. The thing is, he said he wouldn't. He said he would make it so we couldn't live in the East End no more. That's what he threatened me with. What a wicked man. He knew everything what went on in the back slums. He knew we had no one to look after us and we was all just looking out for each other, getting by together. So you mean Mr. McGilded would have, in a heartbeat, he could have had the lot of us chased out of there if he'd wanted. And then where could we have gone, eh? Nowhere, that's where. So I didn't have no choice. Thank you, Gina, for telling us everything. But I'm for it now, eh? Go on, admit it. You must be livid. Well, you can make amends by doing me a simple favor. A favor? What? Sign the representation papers for tomorrow's trial. Eh? If you don't actually want me to represent you in court, you can rip it up later. We need that paperwork or we can't investigate. The police won't let us. Investigate what? The scene of the incident last night. Mr. Sholmes was shot, you see. You what? Hurley's having a big operation right now, Ginny. Is it bad? Is he gonna be alright? Sholmes is gonna be alright, right? That's why I want to investigate, for Mr. Sholmes' sake as much as anything. Right. So what you're saying is, if I sign that bit of paper, everyone's happy. Is that it? Something like that. Miss Usadum? Yes, of course. I have the representation papers here. I don't need no one to stick up for me, though. No lawyer or nothing. Poor Ginny, she seems so lonely. Gina's representation papers have been entered into the court record. Well, at least this should mean we can investigate the scene at Windibanks now. Yes, and perhaps we can come back to visit Ginny when we're done there. I feel like we finally cracked Gina. She's opened up to us at last. And now I have her representation papers. No one else knows just what a responsibility that is. Anyway, for now it means Inspector Gregson can't stop us investigating at Windibanks. Although, something tells me he's not going to be happy about it. Wow, this is a long investigation section. We've been on this for like 2 or 3 weeks. Or I guess 2 weeks. And technically, the first couple parts weren't actually, like, investigating. They were just, like, story. Here we are again at the scene of the crime. Now to thrust these representation papers in Gregson's face and see what he makes of them. Hello again, Inspector. Do you have a minute, please? What is it now? You should go home and get some rest. Here you are, Gregsy. Here are the representation papers. Your ladyship. How? I don't believe it. How the devil did you get that stubborn little ragabash to sign that? I salute you. That is good work, that is. I can see you've been very busy here as well. How about some tea? It's a special blend designed to relieve fatigue. Glug, 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 glug. Speaking of which, I might need to take my headphones out to finish this because the cord is like right up at its like edge. Put that to one side. Yes, yes, I hardly feel tired at all. I'm fit as a fiddle, your ladyship. Would it be alright if we investigated the scene of the crime, then? Do as you please. You know where it happened, through that door behind the counter. Yes, the storeroom. That's where I discovered Mr. Windibank and Gina. Right, well, I'll be getting back to business then. Will you be investigating the storeroom as well, Inspector? If I'm perfectly honest, we need to wrap this up before long. Can't afford to spend too much time on it. But there are so many articles to go through, it's taking forever, even with the lads working round the clock. Which is a problem, because there's another case the Yard needs to investigate urgently. Must be what Lord Strongheart meant by far more serious matters before. So what I'm saying is, don't get under my feet, sunshine. Come then. Let's not waste any time. Well, first, let's check this big, like, bullet thingy. Ah, look here. Oh yes, a bullet hole. I can see the bullet is still lodged in the wall. Presumably, Mr. Windibank wasn't practicing with his revolver in his spare time. Ah, well. Mr. Sholmes likes to practice in his drawing room whenever he can. He's very patriotic like that. Sorry? It's all there in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, you know? Isn't that right, Iris? Ah, did I write something like that? Partly in jest, perhaps. In jest? Well, he doesn't do it often. It is quite a dangerous pastime. He doesn't do it often. Shouldn't even do it once. Forget that for now, Runo. Let's examine this bullet. What's that around the bullet hole? Is it blood? A suspicious red stain on the calendar. Aha, I may well be able to help with that. What? There's nothing like the sight of blood to get the blood pumping, is there, Runo? I have a feeling I'm not as bloody-minded as you, Iris. I'm afraid the sight of blood makes my blood run cold. There you have it, you see. When it comes to blood, we're all different types. Yes, what a scientific observation. So you need this. Oh no, what is that scary-looking thing? Hurley and I haven't actually come up with a name for it yet. But as soon as you see it in action, you'll understand what it does. Watch. The blood turned green. Oh. There, does it make sense now? Yes, I think I'm starting to understand. Good. It works on the principle that different people have different types of blood, you see. Yes, how wonderful. We've discovered blood types way before I think it actually would have been discovered. I'm gonna turn off autoplay because I can't, like, keep up. What was that last sentence? Yes, how wonderful. The chemical it fires combines with the blood and makes it change color. So you can identify whose blood it is that you're looking at in a flash. Oh, what a fabulous invention, Iris. Isn't it? Isn't it? I bet Ginny would say it's bleeding great. Well, let's see. If you include positive and negatives, I think there's... Let's see. A, B, O. 2 types of each. That's like 8 different blood types. So we just have to hope that every single person involved in this crime has a different blood type. Easy. So whose blood are we looking at then? Oh, all the chemical does is turn the blood a different color, so... Just find someone whose blood turns the same color and you'll know who it belongs to in a flash. It's more like 2 flashes, really, isn't it? 1 flash or 2, this could well turn out to be a very valuable clue. Nice rhyme, Susato. So we must make note of it in the court record. The blood sample has been entered into the court record. Let's keep testing and adding the results of any other blood analysis to the portfolio. As long as I have reagent left, sure. So, name unknown, location Windibank's main shop, color green. So we probably need to get a blood sample from other people. Oof. Oh, that thing was like kind of important, right? This is that strange contraption that lets you see pictures of things as if they're right in front of your eyes. It makes you think. When Mr. Sholmes gleefully showed it to us yesterday, we were blissfully unaware that any of this was about to happen. Okay, so there's no thing to do there. Green blood. This seems wrong somehow. Well, there are all sorts of different colors. There are pretty pinks and purples too, you know. Like I said, everyone's blood is different. I wonder what color my blood would turn out. Actually, I don't want to know. Fairly sure this contraption was here yesterday as well. Here we are, though I'm not confident I can get it closed again. Oh yes, that's a folding stereoscope. Really? This is a stereoscope? Mr. Sholmes showed us a picture yesterday that you were supposed to be able to see in 3 dimensions. But for that, he used the great big contraption over there. Oh, well that's for use in public houses and places like that. It contains a carousel with all sorts of pictures inside. This little thing is a much simpler design for use at home. There are special shops selling prints you can use in them. I have a little collection myself. I wonder if I could make money out of these in Japan. It would be keeping my toilet sparkling clean anyway. What's going on the shelves? These shelves are where the pawnbroker puts articles that could have been forfeit on display for customers to buy. Yes, it's a really strange miscellany, isn't it? I mean, who would buy this horse statue, for example? Well, sometimes you can find some real treasures among all the junk, you know? Are you alright, Runo? Oh, it's just, well, it's like a collection of useless junk as a whole, but when you pick out individual things, can't help wishing you owned them, even that horse statue. Exactly how the pawnbroker works. They're very clever. Kind of don't know which of this stuff is going to be relevant and which one won't, but that's a music box. Do you have them where you come from, Runo? Yes, but I've never seen one as large as this in Japan. Oh, well this will be a treat. Shall we have a listen? What do you think? Isn't it a pretty sound? It's a beautiful sound, yes, but it's a little hard to enjoy when all the policemen in the room are giving you fierce looks. Never mind that. If any of them say anything, I'll tell Gregsy to have a word. Iris Wilson, Superintendent of Scotland Yard. Okay, I don't see anything else here. There's like some shredded stuff on the ground. There's the article ledger here and Mr. Wendybank's notes, and this. It looks as though someone has left a little photographic print behind. Oh, look on the back, there's some writing. Is there? Ooh, show us, Susie, show us. "15th of February, 10:30 p.m. Article deposited, 1 gentleman's overcoat. Loan amount paid, £1. Redemption deadline, 15th April, 10:30 p.m. Gentleman's overcoat, pawned for £1. Clearly it was a very fine coat, in fact I think. Yes, this must be the ticket for the overcoat that Ginny redeemed yesterday. And is still wearing, which belonged to McGilded. I'd never have expected the redemption ticket to be handwritten on the back of a photograph, though. Seems Mr. Wendybank just used whatever piece of paper he happened to have to hand. With this photograph of a cat. Looks very familiar, doesn't it? I'm sure I've seen this exact same picture somewhere else recently. Like on the back of another redemption ticket. Oh yes, you're right, very recently. It's the same as the one Ginny gave us earlier. Of course, I was forgetting that she gave us that print. Well, what are you waiting for then, Mr. Naruhodo? Get it out! Hold on, how are we looking? We're having some issues. Let me check something. No, we are getting our full speed. Well, let me see what the upload speed comes in at, because that'll matter a lot too. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just Twitch giving me a bad connection. We'll just try to power through. Well, what are you waiting for then, Mr. Naruhodo? Get it out. Alright, let the cogs turn. Yes, they are exactly the same. Actually, there are a few, like, random differences. Like, very small differences. That I feel like must be intentional, but at the same time I'm like, how much do they matter, really? Hee hee, I've got it! These two photographs hide an amazing secret. Secret? What does she mean? You must tell us at once. Oh, you must tell us Iris at once. Hee, do you really want to know? Yes, we need you to tell us all you know about this pair of photographs. Tell us about the pair of photographs. So, Iris, about these two photographic prints. The one we found here on Mr. Wendebank's counter and the one Gina gave us before. This is an amazing secret you mentioned that's hidden between these two identical prints. There we go, now the stream's back. Actually, that's not quite right. Sorry. If you look carefully, the two prints aren't the same. Not exactly. They're not. Have another look at them now. Can you see that they're just slightly different from each other? I think so. It's very subtle, though. But what's the reason for the subtle difference between the two prints? Ah, well, it's because they're a set, you see. No, I don't. This pair of photographs is meant to be used in a stereoscope. Everyone in London is raving about them at the moment. A stereoscope. Why do I feel as though I've heard that word before recently? Oh yes, that's what Mr. Sholmes showed us yesterday. You see, there it is, just over there. Ah, yes, of course, that magical machine that makes pictures look almost real enough to touch. Hee, well actually, it's quite possible to see the same depth in picture even without one of these contraptions. What, really? Do you know how a pair of flat photographic prints can appear to have any depth in the first place? No, I have no idea. Oh, wonderful, then I'll be able to tell you. She's over the moon, bless her. Should we let her explain, though? We really need to carry on investigating the scene. I, for one, simply have to know. I agree, Susato. How stereoscopic prints work? Have you ever considered, Runo, how our eyes see depth in the world around us? Well, I just open them and it works. Or if you're like me, you open them, they don't, and then you put some glass in front of them, and then they work. The reason it works is because we have two eyes. Two eyes? Shocking. Try closing just one eye at a time, I think you'll see straight away. Yeah, things do shift. Also helped me realize my glasses are dirty. These off. They're worse. I don't know how I did that. I have cleaning spray on my desk. Let me try that. Kleenex maybe? That is still worse. How are they getting worse? It's just because there's still a little bit of residue on them. Why is the cleaner leaving residue? It's supposed to clean them. You know what? Good enough. I missed the trash can. We tried just closing one at an eye at a time. I think you'll see what I mean. What you see with your left eye, and what you see with your right eye, are ever so slightly different. You get a different view with each eye. Yes, the position of objects seems to shift slightly. Exactly, and in your head, it then uses that shift to estimate the depth as it merges the two views into one. That's how we can sense depth in everything we see. My brain really is amazing, isn't it? It does so much without telling me. I think I see, so the pair of photographs consist of a left eye view and a right eye view. Is that right? Oh, well done, Susie. You're so quick. Well, you can persuade your brain to merge the two pictures together in your head. You'll be able to see the depth in these prints. Yes, Runo, you're beginning to understand. And a stereoscope's function is to act as your brain and allow you to do just that. Yes, but as long as you have two images, two eyes, and one brain, you can actually do it yourself without needing a stereoscope at all. You can, really? I assume it's going to be like across your eyes so that you're looking at the right print with your left eye and the right print with your left eye or something like that. Let's try it. Let's see if you can view this pair of prints without the help of a stereoscope. Yes, I'm dying to have a go. Susato-san really loves this kind of thing. You need to be able to cross your eyes. That's the main thing. Can you both do that? Cross my eyes? I think I can. Watch me and see if you can copy. Make your eyes do this. Ooh, that's weird. That actually, like, I haven't done that in a while. It actually kind of makes me dizzy. I don't know. It's very weird looking at my own nose. Alright, let me try. Are you ready, Mr. Naruhodo? There, how's that? Wonderful, now it's your turn, Runo. The trick is to concentrate on looking at the bridge of your nose with both eyes at the same time. Not exactly an easy task when two people are staring at you cross-eyed. Alright, that's enough practice. Now let's try looking at the prints. Start by staring at one print and slowly crossing your eyes. You should see two overlapping images like this. Actually, I can't see anything if I start crossing my eyes. You try it now, Runo. Just gonna have to give it a try, I suppose. Did the print split into two images for you? Now the next step is to put the pair of prints side by side like this and then try crossing your eyes again. Prints should slowly merge together until you form a new single image in the center. Oh yes! Mr. Naruhodo, it works! I can see it in the middle now. It looks so real. Oh, I could look at it all day. I wouldn't advise that. Your eyes might start to hurt. Your turn, Runo. And you're looking through the two pictures and slowly cross your eyes. I'm going to try to do this. Whoops. I don't know how to slowly cross my eyes. I can kind of just cross them or not cross them. I can't do it. Keep adjusting the position of your eyes until the two images overlap exactly in the middle. This is it. I can't do it. There, you managed it, so now you know how stereoscopic images work. Well, I don't know who discovered it, but it really is quite extraordinary. What do you think of these stereoscopic prints then, Runo? They're certainly amazing, but it isn't easy to get the knack of viewing them properly. No, some people find it easier than others. That's why contraptions like this exist, for people who find it tricky. Oh, I recognize that. That's the portable stereoscope we already talked about. We saw one over there yesterday, didn't we? Oh, are we going to be able to take that and use that for viewing stereoscopic things? Because that would be great. If I remember correctly, you press this little knob here. And set the pair of photographs in this stand at the back end. Still amazing, even though I know roughly how it works now. London seems to agree with you. Stereoscopes are very popular at the moment. You can find one of these folding contraptions in lots of households in the capital currently. These little machines are so affordable, surely there's no need to go around staring cross-eyed at pictures like you hate them. But it's much more satisfying to be able to see the effect with your own eyes. Well, I think so in any case. Stereoscopic pictures. I've never even heard of them until yesterday. We've certainly learned a lot about them, but I wonder if it's knowledge that I'll ever actually need. Okay, so that's everything about that. Let's check out our new cat print. There's a bloody fingerprint on the back of that one. I don't know if you noticed, but there's something rather troubling here. I have noticed the red smear, you mean. Yes, it looks like blood, doesn't it? I wonder if Susato-san picked up on that. In that case, yes, we need Iris. We should show this to her before we forget. Oh, okay, so we're gonna have to like present things to Iris to get her to do her blood marker thing on it. Oops. Present. Oh, that looks like blood. I would say it's from a gloved finger, almost certainly a glove made of leather. Well, don't worry, Runo. You can leave the rest to me. Purple blood. Yes, that's a color we haven't seen before, isn't it? We simply must add it to the portfolio of blood samples. It could be an important clue. Although it would be nice to find out whose blood these different colors correspond to at some point. Well, this particular stain of blood... Oh, you've had an idea, haven't you? Do you know whose blood this is? I think I do. Yes, I have an idea whose blood it is. Not from the color it turned, but with a little deduction. That's right, I think it's clear. Iris, you know as well. You first, Runo. Who do you think it belongs to? Alright, I believe that this is the blood of... Pop Windabank. You think somehow it could be Mr. Windabank's blood? Well, he would have been the last person to have handled the ticket. Sometimes the simplest answer is the right one. But Mr. Windabank had no injuries before he was shot, that is. Trying to work out who the blood came from. And rule out anyone who hadn't been bleeding straight away. Yes, of course. Perhaps it's not a concept you can really grasp until you've bled before yourself. Funnily enough, I had accidentally cut myself before, but thanks for the mildly threatening advice, Iris. I'll have to think this through some more. Who do we know who was bleeding at the time? Who had an injury at the time? I mean, we know Sholmes was bleeding at one point. Gina, I don't think, was bleeding. Eggert Benedict could have been, but he never touched the ticket. Tell you what, let's just process of elimination this. Okay, Gina... Oh, Magnus McGill did it with Thrice Fired. I guess Gina? Hold on, this is the ticket for the coat. So it would have had to have been... Oh, oh, wait. It's the blood of Thrice Fired Mason because it was on Gina's hand, right? Okay. The victim of the omnibus case? Yes, his name was indeed Mr. Thrice Fired Mason. Well, that would mean that this bloodstain left on the ticket 2 months ago. Yes, I think it was. Gina brought this ticket here to Windabanks yesterday, and suggesting that the bloodstain was already on it at that time. With a smear of blood from the time that Mr. Mason was killed 2 months ago. Something else is coming back to me now. Mr. McGilded was also wearing leather gloves that night. Ooh. Now I ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. Certainly does look like a leather-gloved thumbprint, this mark. We know that Mr. McGilded had no injuries at the time anywhere on his body, from which we can conclude that any blood on the glove belonged to the victim, Mr. Mason. Mr. Naruhodo, you sound just like Mr. Sholmes. I keep trying to, like, fix my hair, and then it just unfixes itself. I should probably just stop fussing with it. Minus the quirky slip-ups, I hope. Well, we did make one. Yes, I think you're right, Runo. Very well, let's make a note of this. The details of the pawnbroker's ticket for the code have been updated in the court record. The blood samples portfolio has been updated in the court record. Now, if I look at the blood samples, we know that thrice-fired Mason has purple blood. Oh, that just tells us that the blood on the ticket is Mr. Mason's. The police are scouring every inch of this place by the look of it. Instructions from the yard are to examine every article in the shop and every ledger and book of accounts. Every article? But that's a ridiculous amount of work, surely. We've been hard at it ever since the shop was declared a crime scene in the early hours. We're sifting through it in all shifts at least, but still. We'll be working through the night, that's for sure. Even then, we've barely scratched the surface. Crime and pawnbrokers. It must be every policeman's worst nightmare. Every copper's worst nightmare, you know, a crime and pawnbrokers. What else is going on here? The ledger that's open on the counter there really is enormous, isn't it? It's an awful lot of work to keep track of all these hundreds of items in pawn. Too much to think about. Better to sell it all and have a clear head, if you ask me. Clearly, Mr. Winterbank was very careful when it came to the articles in his care. Well, let's check out the door. Behind that door, pardon the loud noise. Let's set that to one side. The storm room, isn't it? That's what Gregsy said. Yes, and that's where I saw that dreadful scene last night. Through the little window in the door. Oh, are we going to be able to get a blood sample for, what's his face? Winterbank? Mr. Winterbank, face down on the floor with Gina beside him. As the accused's legal representative, you have the right to examine the scene, Mr. Naruhodo. We must make a thorough investigation. Yes, of course, and we will. Behind that door, that's the real scene of the crime. Don't worry, if there are clues in there, I'll find them. Oops. So can we go in now? Do we have to go to the move thing first? There we go. Winterbank storeroom. Poor Iris. She's clammed up completely. Iris is bound to find this difficult. After all, Mr. Winterbank's life was taken in this very room only last night. Ah! Wait, Inspector? What is it now, Sunshine? You took one look at me and tried to run away. Like a Scotland Yard inspector would run away from some jumped-up little defense lawyer, do ya? Well... I've never seen her ladyship looking like that before, is the thing. I didn't know what to say to her. You weren't running away from me, you were running away from a 10-year-old. I'm afraid this is all a little much for young Iris. Some gentle reassurance might go a long way, perhaps, Inspector. Yeah. Ahem. Don't trouble yourself unduly, your ladyship. I mean, at least you're not dead, are you? Jeez. You gotta work on that one, Gregson. I don't think that went very well. Why? Look, I'm in the middle of an investigation here, Sunshine, and I told you not to get under my feet. We have investigating to do ourselves. Yes, I'd like to hear more of what the socially inept inspector has to say. Oh, Hurley. Been inquiring into how Mr. Sholmes' operation is going. Scene of the crime. So, Inspector, what do you make of the crime scene here? Shaw, you've got eyes, haven't you? Use them. Here's what it looks like. Nothing more, nothing less. Iris, could you lend me a hand? So, Gregsy, what do you make of the crime scene here? Oh yes, your ladyship, do allow me to humbly explain. Last night, at shortly after the hour of 1 o'clock in the morning, Scotland Yard police tended the scene. The one and only door to the storeroom was found locked from the inside. It was locked from the inside. The lock appears to be broken now, though. Was that the police officers doing? Quite right, ma'am. Quite right. We took the liberty of smashing the door in as humbly as possible. Oh, as you can see, the victim was discovered prostrate on the floor, thuswise. Next to the aforementioned body, we discovered the vile gutter child. Are you talking about Ginny? She's my friend, you know, Inspector. Miss Lestrade, the hapless girl, was curled up on the floor, dead to the world. She's still alive, you know. Yes, when I saw her, she appeared to be unconscious. I'm afraid to say she had the gun that was used in her hand. No. Presumably, it's the gun that's still down there on the floor now. In her pocket, we found the key to the door as well. What? The key to the storeroom? And you say the storeroom had been locked from the inside, Inspector? Correct, all of which leaves her ladyship's friend. Something of a sticky situation, I'm afraid. Obviously, my personal opinion is that it's all some sort of misunderstanding. Of course it is, Inspector. Of course it is. And let's check in on Sholmes' operation. Gregsy, do you know anything about Hurley? Is the operation finished? Is Hurley alright? Is he? The thing is, don't mince your words, Inspector, please. You don't mean to say that Mr. Sholmes is... No, the operation's done and dusted. It's just that, well... Out with it! Yes, ma'am. You use something called a general anesthetic. It's the latest thing, renders the whole body insensitive. The whole body anesthetized? Is that even possible? It means the operation can be completed while the patient is fast asleep. Goodness, in the Empire of Japan, we can just manage to provide laughing gas for a tooth extraction. The trouble is, the latest thing isn't always the greatest thing, if you follow my meaning. I couldn't get the medication to work at first, so it took hours for him to nod off, or so I hear. And now that the op's finished, they can't get him to wake up, apparently. Oh my. No one knows if it's the anesthetic still in his system or if the bloke's just plain exhausted. But anyway, all they can do is stand back and watch until he comes round again. Hurley. The moment he opens his eyes, your ladyship, I swear I shall get word to you. What a surprise. Even in matters of life and death, Mr. Sholmes has to do things his way. Let's examine the scene now. I assume we're going to get a lot of evidence here. This is a revolver, a real one. And quite possibly the murder weapon used to take Mr. Wendebanks' life. What's the matter, Susie? You and Bruno look like you're about to faint. Well, it's just that I've rarely seen a gun in the flesh. And I've had issues with guns in the past. But anyway, we saw Mr. Wendebank with this yesterday, didn't we? Shall have to take my own life. It must be the same gun. And last night, when I looked through the spy hole in the door to the storeroom here, that was the same gun I saw in Gina's hand. Mr. Wendebank told us that he only ever had a single bullet loaded into his revolver, didn't he? Well, it's empty now. The one and only bullet he had in his gun has been fired. We can be fairly certain that only a single shot was fired from this revolver. That will come up later, I'm sure. The police have marked the position of the body with a chalk line. Poor Mr. Wendebank, he was a nice old man. Only he was shot just once through the heart. Most likely the fella died instantly. He wouldn't have felt a thing. This must be his blood then. Ah! I don't like to ask at such a wretched time, Iris, but I wonder if perhaps... Don't worry, Susie. I'm ready for action. Blue blood. Now we know the color the chemical turns when it reacts with Mr. Wendebank's blood. And it doesn't match our analysis of the bloodstain we found in the main shop. No, but let's add this sample to the others we've already collected anyways. So now we know if we ever see blue blood, it's probably Mr. Wendebank's. Of all the articles in this storeroom, this is the only thing that shows any sign of being ransacked. Ah, what is it, Iris? That's the box file that my manuscript was being kept in. Oh. Iris's unpublished story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. Surely that's not what all this... Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you. You must check inside the box at once. Yes. Ah. It was there. Iris's story was there. Really, it was? Well, that's good news, isn't it, Iris? Yes. I mean, of course I believed Hurley when he said he deposited it here, but still, it's a relief to actually see it. Only because that's not a very well hidden crown. Iris's manuscript has been entered into the court record. We should probably read that. I mean, we're not going to read the whole story, but... Oh. Is there not even anything to examine here? I think just satisfy the exact title of this unpublished story. I guess I'll just have to wait until she's ready to explain it to me. I'm so sorry. No... I feel like this is way too important of a thing for there to be, like, nothing to say about it. Under the Baskervilles. Oh, we already covered that. Okay. So we're just not going to read the contents of that story today. With all of these articles that have been deposited, the room is stuffed full of them. I can't believe how many there are. A bicycle, a gramophone, musical instruments, even some enormous paintings. Look. Pieces of different people's lives quietly gathering dust in here together. There's something very peaceful about the atmosphere in here. I guess there would be if not for the chalk outline on the floor and the policeman shuffling around. Not much I can do about that, Sunshine. Yes, we've seen that. We've seen that. Okay, that's just like all one dialogue. Is there something new to say about the blood? Iris? Don't worry, I'm alright. We must find the true culprit. Yes, absolutely. Okay, anything else new in here? I don't see anything. Will we present stuff to you? Is that what I think it is? Your ladyship's latest. Yes, my latest story. It's called The Hound of the Baskervilles. Most fascinating title, your ladyship. Fascinating. And I don't suppose would there be any mention of my humble self in the tale this time? Good question. I can't really remember. I see, I see. Well, why would you, your ladyship? I'll just await its publication with eager anticipation. You needn't worry, Inspector. I'm sure if you do appear, you won't be doing anything particularly remarkable. You looking to be arrested, Sunshine? I didn't mean it like that. I mean, if I did, you wouldn't have bitten her ladyship's head off, would you? Let's just present other stuff. Dr. Gregson, could you give me your opinion about this, do you think? We don't tend to share, Sunshine, not with the general public. Oh, what about the defense attorney? In that case, Gregsy, how about some herbal tea? Glug, 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 glug. Ah, lovely. Ah, very much. That really hit the spot, your ladyship. You don't mind sharing that, then? We present the blood portfolio. Okay, it's gonna be the same thing. I've noticed in this game they don't really expect you to, like, blindly present stuff. Kind of the way some of the other ones do. Maybe we just have to... head back to the main storeroom? Why don't we talk to this guy? Keep it down. Oh, sorry. There's a major clue just here. Really? Then we must tell Gregsy at once. But as soon as I report it, that'll be it. I'll be stuck here even longer. Stuck here? What do you mean? I haven't been home in 2 days already. I need another constable to relieve me and take over my shift. Ah, they really have a tough time, the British police. It doesn't stop us investigating though, does it? No, I suppose not. I'm fairly sure it was the calendar he was peering at. Oh, I see. This is just like letting us talk to the guy. If I go... Is there anything in the storeroom I missed? Doesn't feel like there would be. Just go like left to right. There's like a writing desk there. What if we go to Baker Street? We haven't been out there yet. Or at least not in a while. Still a Scotland Yard carriage outside Wintermills. I never imagined we'd be investigating a case so close to home. Poor Iris, she's very upset by this. Sorry, I was there, I should have done more. None of this is your fault, Runo, so please don't apologize. But it's the criminals who are to blame for all this, so let's investigate and work out how to catch them. Yes, you're right. Already been 2 months that we've been taking lodgings here above Mr. Sholmes' office. still can't quite believe it. I never expected things would turn out like this. When Hurley comes back home, let's have a big party. It's a great idea. I'm sure it won't be long. Sholmes is very tough. Why is this even a screen we can go to? It seems like we're not really doing anything on it. Like, ever. Move. Let's try going to the prison. Gina doesn't appear to be here. Maybe she must be in questioning at the moment. Oh, but wait a minute. What is it, Iris? If you examine the scene here carefully, there's another possibility, isn't there? Ginny could have slipped the key from the jailer when he wasn't looking and escaped. Oh my, why would she do something like that? It would only make her situation worse. Calm down, Runo. I was only joking, of course. Oh. You had me worried there. Thought it was a great deduction. Yes, it must be your way with words, Iris. You're so wonderfully persuasive. Perhaps you don't fully understand the weight your words carry. Oh dear, I'm sorry. I suppose a light-hearted great detective is a contradiction in terms. In the same situation, I'm sure Mr. Sholmes would have just thrown his head back and guffawed. Not entirely sure that's helpful, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, anyway, it looks like we won't be able to talk to Gina for a while. We should try to make progress with our investigation in the meantime. Yes, come along then, Runo. Come along, Susie. What if we go to Sholmes' suite? Or our legal consultancy? Maybe there is something we were supposed to present to Gregson that we just didn't do. Let's check the hospital. We haven't been back in a while. Okay, still nothing in there. Yeah, nothing here. So it really does seem like, yeah, we just need to go back to that storeroom, I guess, and there must be something we can either examine or present that is not provided anything. What do you make of this? Ah, what have we here then? A redemption ticket for an article deposited here, is it? Looks like someone ran out of office stationery and wrote the ticket on whatever paper was to hand. Yes, this is the ticket from Gilbert's overcoat, the one the little diver turned up with yesterday. Oh, actually no, it's not. Really? You know better than me, do ya? No, I didn't mean to, Bruno's right, Gregsy, it isn't the same ticket. Of course it isn't, of course it isn't. I never doubted you, your ladyship. So, what's all this about then, if I might be so bold as to ask? This is a second ticket. A second one? It seems that Mr. McGilden in fact had another article in storage here at Windobanks. Is that right? I think we need to discuss this further with the inspector, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, good, because he's ever so easy to talk to. Well, let's talk about the second redemption ticket. This ticket was in one of the pockets of Mr. McGilden's overcoat. Tell you what, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, you guys probably want to see the pictures of the evidence as it comes up, right? So I'll move my camera over here for today. So now I can still talk to him. Hey, how you doing? How's it going? And you can see everything on screen now, hopefully. Hey, you mean to tell me? Yes, there was more than just the music box disc, it seems. I should have insisted on the lads taking it back to the yard and examined it properly. Well, according to the details on this ticket, Mr. McGilden deposited another article here with Mr. Windenegg. Excuse me. Yes, I can see it written here. A small box, was it? You have any idea where it is, Gregsy? Any idea at all? It's another article belonging to Mr. McGilded. It could be an important clue. Well, yes, I suppose it could be. Please stop looking at me with those big turquoise eyes all full of hope and expectation. It's too much pressure. I'll lose me marbles, I will. I'll go barking. This is no time for dog impressions, Inspector. That's enough sauce from you, Sunshine. There's one thing that springs to mind. According to this ticket, the redemption deadline's already passed, hasn't it? Oh yes, of course. Articles are only held for 2 months. So the small box will no longer be in here then. That's right, it's been forfeited. Which means it could be on the shelves in front of the shop where the forfeited items are offered for sale. Yes, the shelves in the front. We must search them at once. You're wasting your time. There are dozens of little boxes out there, hundreds even. We can't possibly know which one might have been Miss McGilded's. That information is not written in the ledger. I think we should at least have a look, just in case. Of course, your ladyship, of course. Very sensible of you, I'm sure. This is getting old. Dong, dong, dong. Ah! I nearly jumped out of my skin there. How could Mr. Windibank set such a wicked trap? I doubt he set out to scare anyone. Is that really the time? I think perhaps we should pay Gina another visit soon. Oh? Her trial is tomorrow. We must establish whether or not you will be defending her. I think we should ask her one more time. She may have changed her mind. Don't you remember, Runo? You told her she could rip up the representation papers if she didn't want you to be your lawyer. Really? Did I say that? Yes, you did. The deadline for submitting the paperwork is fast approaching. In that case, we better hurry back to the prison and talk to Gina again. So I guess we're not going to get to look for that box today. Prison? Or maybe we will. We just have to talk to Gina first. 5:41 p.m. Local prison, cell 13. Ah, Gina, good, you're back. Ah. The police must have finished questioning her then. Oh, how was it, Ginny? Was it awful? Eh? Oh, didn't bother me. Thank you for the papers you signed before. It meant we were able to investigate at Windibank's. Oh, right. Don't you want to know how we got on? We've been ever so busy. What's the point in asking? Won't change what everyone's saying, that I did it. That's not... Gina, we came to ask your final decision. Eh, what decision? About tomorrow's trial. Will you let me defend you or not? I must submit the paperwork now if you'd like Mr. Naruhodo to represent you. Right, I see. She's really lost her fight all of a sudden, but I know what that feels like. The worry is just so hard to bear. I guess we have to ask her. I guess we'll talk about what we've uncovered. Alright then, blimey, give it a rest with them eyes, Iris. Come on then, fill us in. Who done it? Unfortunately, we don't know that yet. You don't say. We don't know yet, Gina. Mr. Naruhodo and all of us know that you are innocent of this crime. While we haven't yet managed to work out who the real culprit is, there are a number of interesting facts that we have managed to establish. Oh yeah, like what? Well, for example, the reason for you being there in the first place. I think I know now why you broke into Windibank's that night. Looks like I'm gonna have to take some evidence that clearly reveals the reason and thrust it in Gina's face. Or I can present it to her calmly, I suppose. Let's go ahead and present that. We found this in Mr. Windibank's storeroom. The manuscript of Iris's latest story. Ah! Oh right, well that's good then. Curiously, the storeroom at Windibank showed no sign of being ransacked for items of value or the like. The one exception. The box file that housed the manuscript. It was you, wasn't it, Gina, who broke open the box containing the manuscript last night? Eh? You were determined to find out whether or not the Hound of Baskervilles was really there. There's a real reason. You broke into the storeroom last night, isn't it? Ah! Why don't you tell us what happened, please? Alright, yeah, this Baskervilles story, it's the latest Sholmes adventure, right? But it ain't been printed yet, so I figured it's gotta be worth a fair few pieces of silver, right? Oh yes, at least 5,000 pounds. What? You intended to sell Iris's manuscripts, did you? Iris, you're the one who sells them to the magazines, right? Like, you should know whether or not they're worth 5,000. Maybe she is aware of what they're worth, and she just thinks that Susato is like way highballing it. No, Ginny, how could you? What? Wait, no, hang on. Of course I weren't gonna sell it. All I wanted to do was find out if the mantle script or whatever you call it really was there or not. It's the only reason I was in the place. For Iris's sake, isn't that right? Ah. We knew why you'd done it from the start, Gina, of course we did. But I knew you wouldn't do anything mean like that, Ginny, I just knew it. Well, when I saw the manuscript in the storeroom, it reminded me of what you said that night before. Grown-ups do a lot worse than that, believe me. Barefaced liars, the lot of them. You just ain't realized it yet. I'm telling you, that mantle script ain't at Windibank's. You'd soon see if you had a look. If I'm honest, I have wondered if Hurley's telling me the truth sometimes. I mean that I sometimes wonder if he might have hidden my manuscript somewhere I don't know. Even though it's wrong of me to doubt him. Oh, Ginny, that was so sweet of you. Alright, alright. I'll tell you why I did it. Just stop looking at me like that, Iris. Let's do this before we get too deep into it. We already have the representation, papers, and other documents we need. All we have to do is hand them to the court clerk. That is, if you'll allow me to represent you in court tomorrow. Nah, don't bother. Janie, rip them up and chuck them, would ya? Them representation papers or whatever they're called. The cell ain't fancy enough to have a bin. So what will you do in court tomorrow? I'll be fine on my own. I don't think you will be. Look, it don't matter. What's gonna happen is gonna happen. This is one stubborn pickpocket. Okay, so that's all that's gonna be. Presumably until we get through all of these other ones. It weren't because of Iris, that's not why I did it. I just wanted to know the truth, that's all. Oh, welcome back, Fridays. We wanted to know if Mr. Sholmes was being honest, if he'd really deposited the manuscript at Windibank's. It's like I told you the night before. I never had a father. But Iris's lot ain't like mine. She got her dad, only she can't see him. And I reckon that's gotta be Arter. That's why she writes her stories. They're about her dad, really. That's what it sounded like to me anyway, last night when I was listening to what you were saying. Stories about Daddy? You mean they're not the adventures of a great detective, so much as the adventures of a great detective and his trusty partner? Interesting. I don't think I've ever even seen that emote. 2020 unroll? I guess that's from like the 2020 New Year's or something. You can always change your password or something. Actually, let me see. They might also just like randomly fill that in with some emotes, because I have like 12 emotes here in my frequently used, and aside from my own emote, my own singular emote, and like the Hey Guys one, I don't actually use any emotes really. Oh, that's how I see it, yeah. You're so thoughtful and so kind, Ginny. Yes, and we never thought any differently, did we? Look, give it a rest, will ya? I ate all this chummy nonsense. Do you hear? I ate it. I don't trust no one, right? That's how I work. Because if you don't trust no one can let you down. So leave me alone. Go on, Scarper. I hadn't noticed until now, but it's unmistakable right there on both sleeves of that overcoat. Some very suspicious red stains. What? Why are you looking at me like that? It might be worth presenting some of our other findings in that area to Gina now. Those stains on the sleeves of your new coat, Gina, they're blood, aren't they? Not that I know whose blood yet. What? Blood, Mr. Naruhodo. You don't appear to have any obvious wounds yourself, though. Could it be blood that splattered from Mr. Windybank when he was shot last night? Let's not beat around the bush here. This trusty friend of mine will get results in much faster time than anything else. Take it easy, Iris. Don't move, Ginny. I'm going to shoot. That sure is something. Purple. Oh my. What the? Forget the sleeves. The whole coat is covered in blood. Of course, the black color of the fabric was masking the stains. That's why we haven't seen them until now. Even though that coat looks a lot more brown than black. And the blood has reacted with the chemical to turn a purple color, which matches one of the samples we've already collected perfectly. Yes, now let's see, who had the purple blood? Ah, yes, it was the brickmaker, Mr. Mason, the victim of the murder case 2 months ago. I knew it. What are you all on about? The victim? What do you mean? It's a rather uncomfortable situation, Mr. Naruhodo, but I think this makes things quite clear. It means the omnibus case is finally solved. The truth about who really murdered the brickmaker, Mr. Mason, is revealed. Boy, would someone explain what's going on? Stop telling half a story. And we'll talk to Susato. And we can see now that the victim's blood is all over Mr. McGilden's overcoat. In the trial 2 months ago, the defendant said this in his testimony. Now I ask you, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fellow bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. If you look at this overcoat now, it's clear. These stains couldn't have arisen from Mr. McGildy trying to pull the victim to his feet. Now, if that was what had really happened, the blood wouldn't have splashed all over the front of the coat. The only explanation for this pattern of blood is that it splattered over Mr. McGildy's coat when he stabbed the victim in the stomach. Tried to run from the truth for long enough. There's no escaping it now. The true culprit in that case, Mr. Mason's killer, was Magnus McGilted. Mr. Naruhodo, that horrible case is solved at last. And yep, I helped the man walk free from that trial. Well, actually, the way we played that, we didn't really let him walk free. We just kept asking questions, and eventually he decided it was done. I used all that twisted testimony and all that sham evidence to prove his innocence. How could I have let that happen? Bruno. Did you believe him, though? Did you believe McGilden was innocent? No, we didn't. I believed, or rather I think I was trying to believe. I wanted to. You see there, this game has, like, invented an alternate reality where I presumably picked, at the end of the McGilden case, I had the option to, like, I forget, it was either, like, pursue something or let it go, or, like, he's innocent, he's guilty kind of thing. And I had chosen, you know, pursue the thing, he's guilty. And they're just like, I think, like, this is all written as though I had picked to let him go. Believing in those that you represent in court is a defense lawyer's greatest weapon. A weapon? Before we came to Great Britain, a great friend of mine taught me a valuable lesson. You mean Kazuma-sama. Listen, Ryunosuke. We lawyers are only human. We can't know for sure what is truth and what is a lie. Which is why we must resort to our primary weapon, an unwavering belief in our clients. That's all we really have. Unwavering belief. Only when we truly believe what our client tells us can we fight with everything we have for their cause. In any battle, there can be no victory without faith. Yeah, like if that choice wasn't going to matter, I feel like they should have written it, like, a little more generally. Or something like that, like... Like, if you're gonna write it so that I have a choice whether or not I believe my client at the end of episode 3, and it's gonna come up, and that trial is gonna come up in episode 5, like, I feel like the way you talk about that should either just completely ignore how we felt about his innocence or guilt, or, you know, take into account that the player had a choice there. There can be no victory without faith. I believe you unwaveringly. Hehe. What's funny, Gina? Core, sounds like this Empire o' Japan you come from. Everyone must be soft. Oh, come on. Look at the mess you got into believing in that bog trotter. Yes, I inadvertently helped a murderer walk free. Again? Very much was not helping him by the end, but sure. Well, at least you've learnt your lesson now, eh? Believing in people's never worth it. Someone always stabs you in the back in the end. As soon as you let down your guard, you've had it. Take a leaf out of my book. Believe no one. Get hurt by no one. Gina, may I ask you something? What? I'd just like to make absolutely sure. What would you like us to do with these representation papers for tomorrow's trial? I went to all this effort of moving my camera so we could see the evidence when it pops up on the left, and now it's popping up on the right. I'm just gonna leave my camera here at this point. How many times do I have to say it? Rip them up and chuck them away. Are you really sure that's what you want? Actually, tell you what I might do. I might scale this down a bit, and then I'll try putting it back in the corner where it was. Yeah, I could even... I don't want to stretch it too much because I don't want to, like, block the text. But let's try that out for size. I bet that's what he wants. I bet that's what he wants in all now. Mr. I'm a Believer lawyer over there. Don't forget it was me in that trial 2 months ago. I let everyone up the garden path, didn't I? You're telling me you can believe in me after that? Not likely. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, the lawyer's primary weapon is an unwavering belief in his clients. Ultimately, it comes down to whether or not I feel I can trust Gina after everything that's happened. I can trust her. Of course. Gina, let me say it again. Please allow me to represent you in tomorrow's trial. Eh? Are you half-baked? Not at all. I'm fully baked, thank you very much. You've not once admitted to committing the crime, have you? What's more, I believe that you're telling me the truth. Seriously, Mr. Narrow Odo. Didn't you hear all of what I said before? I'm a born liar. Fibs just trip off me tongue. I'm a diver, don't forget. I pulled the wool over your eyes 2 months ago and got you into all sorts of trouble. Why would you ever trust me now? I just don't get it. Gina. I do understand why you choose not to put your trust in others. But I assure you, there's more to life than you yet realize. What you mean? The world we live in is full of people you would do very well to trust. People who wouldn't ever let you down. Or won't ever let you down, excuse me. Eh? It's true that I'm just a student of law, and I'm certainly lacking in courtroom experience. Despite the fact that we've been in court against the toughest prosecutor in the country twice now. But I can promise you this. Whatever happens, and until my very last breath, I am completely on your side. What? What do you expect me to say to that? Then it's decided. I will take these papers now and carry out the necessary preparations for tomorrow's trial. It would be a shame to throw them away now after it's been penned with your name so beautifully. Do what you like. You Eastern lot are. I don't know what you are. I don't get you. It's not like I like you or anything. Gina's taken herself off to the back of her cell. She'd never admit it, but I hope she's feeling relieved. That turned out alright in the end, I think. So there's still like a ton of stuff to do before the trial, right? Whoever's hiding there, show yourself at once. Eavesdropping is the height of cowardice. Miss Susato, somebody is there in the shadows, I can sense it. Somebody who wasn't there before. What? Blimey, you're sharp, eh? Suppose you were using one of the mystic Japanese arts, like the art of stealth I've heard so much about. Or she could just tell. If anyone was being stealthy, it was you, Inspector. Gregsy! Oh dear me, I am most terribly sorry, Your Ladyship. I didn't mean to startle you. How long have you been listening in on our conversation? Good grief! Listening in? No, no, no. I just got word that there were some visitors who were refusing to leave even though it was after hours. Sure, Your Ladyship, I only just arrived this very minute, not a moment earlier. That's all it is, nothing untoward, nothing at all. After hours? Is it that late already? Oh, then I'll humbly excuse myself now, Your Ladyship. Ta-ta, toodaloo, cheerio, all the best, bye-bye. Bye and bye. That's a lot of farewells, and not one of them appropriate for Her Ladyship. Oh, but I wanted to have a chat. I'm terribly sorry, but time is pressing at the minute. Oh, I see. That's a shame. If I don't get this emergency at the Supreme Court dealt with sharpish, Lord Strongheart will... Emergency? Lord Strongheart? Nothing. Forget I said anything. Anyway, I'm off. Yeah, his mustache looks like... I don't know how to place it. But he has a very funny mustache. Also, his sideburns are, like, curved. It's very interesting. I guess they do kind of follow his jawline. You know what's weird? His hair goes, like, in towards where his eyebrow is. Let me demonstrate on this side so you can see. Like, the gap between his eyebrow and where his hair starts is very, like, thin. That's what makes the sideburns look so weird. Because otherwise they follow his jawline fine. But the mustache definitely reminds me of like a stereotypical, like, early 1900s, like, guy. I don't know how to describe it, just a guy. Delighted, charmed, can't wait, if you please, my pleasure. That's a lot of pleasantries, and not one of them sounded sincere. Gregsy's so fun, he says such silly things. It's certainly entertaining to see an inspector of the police falling to a 10-year-old. But anyway, I wonder what this emergency is at the Supreme Court. I must attend the court clerk's office now before it closes. Yes, of course. Thank you, Mr. Sato. Kindly escort Iris home now, Mr. Naruhodo. I shall meet you there later. Are we not going to go back to the pawnbrokers to find out where that box is? That seemed kind of important before. And so our investigation came to an end. Sato-san went to file the necessary papers for my defense of Gina the following day, and then it hit me. I could no longer suppress the wretched feeling that had been gnawing away at my insides. Tomorrow, Susato-san would be leaving Britain and making her way back to Japan. Naruhodo-san, it's been a very trying day, hasn't it? I do hope you're not too exhausted. What about you, Susato-san? Today has been even more trying for you, I'm sure. Mr. Sholmes was shot before our eyes, Gina was arrested, all on the back of the news that her father has fallen ill and she must return to Japan at once. I hope your father recovers soon. Thank you for your kind words. I wonder why it is. And so many thoughts rage in my head like a storm. And yet I seem unable to find the words to express any of them. I know exactly what you mean. Anyway, I have one final task to complete as your judicial assistant. Once that is done, I shall make preparations for my departure tomorrow. One final task. You gotta... I wonder how they all spoke the same language. Oh yeah, yeah, it's interesting the like Ace Attorney games, at least playing them in English, like it's just like implied that when Japanese characters are speaking together, they're speaking Japanese. But when they're like in the presence of English speakers, they're speaking English. That's the way I've like interpreted it so far. But yeah, it's weird. I think it's just one of those like concessions you have to make, that it's just like weird to like the only other way to do it would be to actually have them speak different languages, or just like make the text purposefully unintelligible, which for a visual novel game, it's a bold move to make the novel part unreadable. Going back to Japan. It's just 2 months since we arrived in London. We've managed to establish this office. I was finally feeling as though we were settling in. I would be lying if I said I felt no regret. I'm so sorry, Susada-san. It's just so sudden. I really don't know what to think. I've had no time to gather my thoughts. I know we've only been here a short time, but in my limited experience of the courtroom, I feel I've learned something. And what would that be? It seems to me there are many facets to people's personalities. Facets? And like a jewel, the light plays off them in complex patterns, illuminating their actions and their motives. But we see only a small number of the total facets, and what is illuminated is only part of the whole story. What lies in the shadows? What do those facets we cannot see look like? Yeah, that makes a little less sense. I will say though, there is a surprising... I went to Hawaii once on a vacation. There is a surprising amount of tourists from like Japan. Probably, I guess because they're like... They're on the same ocean, so even though it's like... It's still kind of a far flight. It's like... Compared to, say, like, Japan to mainland US, it's actually a lot shorter. So, it still would be a little weird for someone from Hawaii to speak Japanese, but it's, like, not unheard of. Perhaps there are some parts we'll never lay eyes on for as long as we live. It's so true. Sometimes I feel as though I'm blind to so much. But I keep hoping that one day it will all become clear. That all facets will be illuminated and I'll finally understand how everything fits together. Naruhodo-san. Suppose what matters. That we keep our eyes open and keep moving forward, even if the way sometimes seems dark. It's amazing to think it's been just 2 months. You've grown so much. Sorry, I what? Oh no, it was nothing. Unimportant. Tomorrow's departure. You know what time you will leave London in the morning? Yes, I picked up my ticket earlier. I shall be leaving here at 4 a.m. Yeesh! I see. Well, I'll escort you to the station. Absolutely not. Sorry? I'm sure you realize why I couldn't possibly let you do that. You have a very important day ahead of you tomorrow. Gina's trial. Yes, I know, but every word you utter will have the potential to determine Gina's fate. You must get as much rest as possible. Even though, like me, I'm sure you'll find it hard to sleep. Oh, this is ye olden times before planes. She's getting on a boat at 4 a.m. Not exactly ideal. But please, for me, do try. And the one final task, I presume she is going to explain how she knows the title of the book that isn't out yet. Now, you mentioned one final task a moment ago. What did you mean? Oh my, I nearly forgot. Please, I want you to have this. What is that? Some huge bundle of documents. It's my notes from the case 2 months ago. The murder was committed on the omnibus. Oh, the McGilded case, yeah. Seems to me that this case, Mr. Winterbank's murder, of which Gina is accused, very much tied up with that omnibus case, in ways that are not yet completely apparent. I took the liberty of consolidating my writings about the case for you. And we should go from UK to France, all the way to China, then China to Japan. That's long. Yeah, episode 2 of this game took place on the boat from Japan to there, and it seemed like they kind of implied that they were on the boat the whole time. They made a stop in China, I think, for cargo. But yeah, that would be a long boat trip. Took the liberty of consolidating my writings about the case for you. With everything else she's had to think about, Susato-san still managed to do this, and all neatly laid out for me in her beautiful handwriting. It was my pleasure. I only hope I will bolster your case tomorrow for Gina. Thank you so much, Susato-san. I will do my best to use it wisely. You really are the best judicial assistant in the world. Well, it's extremely flattering. But I'm sorry to say, I've been a complete failure. Sorry? I didn't quite catch what you said there. Oh, ignore me. I was just mumbling to myself. How has she been a complete failure? Oh, it's getting rather late. Let's just, like, check these notes real quick. Case summary. Victim found deceased on the last scheduled omnibus of the day after a stab wound to the abdomen. Details of victim. Name Mason Milverton. Brickmaker. East Ender. Trial summary. Defendant. Magnus McGilded. Prosecution attorney Lord Baron Van Zeeks. Defense attorney Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Conviction was assured with 3 eyewitness testimonies. However, a surprise 4th witness's testimony resulted in acquittal due to insufficient evidence. I think you should go to bed now, Naruhodo-san. I must finish packing up my things in my room. Susato-san, I wish you the very best of luck tomorrow. Good night. Wait, there's something I need to say. Hi-ya! What was that? A secret technique of mine. The Susato shutdown. Shutdown. Please, I implore you. If we have to voice our goodbyes, I won't be able to hold back my tears. Aww. Susato-san. It truly had been a trying day. On our feet for hours, getting Gina to open up to us, and learning the truth about that nemesis of a case. Physically and mentally, I was exhausted, and yet the idea of sleep seemed impossible. I forced myself to close my eyes, and as a cacophony of scenes of our lives here in London played through my mind. Eventually, my fatigue triumphed, and I fell into a deep sleep. '17th of April, the small hours in St. Sinner's Hospital, Ward 3. Yes, I quite understand. This is a great weight off my mind. Rest assured, I shall put everything in place exactly as we have discussed. Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be acquainted with you, Mr. Sholmes. On the contrary, the pleasure has been mine. Bid you farewell, and Godspeed. My dear Madame. Oh? I would raise one eyebrow in confusion, but I can't actually do that. So I'll raise both of them. We'll save our current progress, and that is going to be it for tonight. We may end up finishing this next week. I don't know how long the trial portion of this chapter is, but that investigation was like an eternity, so the trial might also take a few weeks. And then after that, I honestly don't know what I'll play. I kind of feel like I have this new powerful PC. I should like play more games on it. So maybe I'll take a break from this and play something else on here. Good night, Fridays. I'll probably see you on Wednesday for Persona. And maybe this weekend I'll try to get some other streams in. But until next time, I'll see you later.